gallery that death echoes. Welcome, wanderer. You've stepped into the dark halls of Vale of Dark Whispers, where every story bleeds and every echo hides a scream. Tonight the gallery opens for you. But beware, once you see what's inside, you don't leave unchanged. Now, settle in and let the whispers begin. Prologue. It is always cold here, even when the fire is lit and the walls sweat blood. Beneath the gallery, the one the world sees, with wine and velvet and polite applause, there is a second hall, hidden, walled in bone. They call it the Whispering Room, but only he calls it home. The mask hangs on its hook. Cracked black porcelain, silver fractures split through its surface like lightning veins. Its eyes glow faint blue, not from electricity, but from something older. Something watching, waiting. When the curator isn't wearing it, the mask waits. It listens. To the floorboards above, to the walls that tremble, to the faint scratching behind the display cases. But tonight, the gallery is quiet, but not empty. She is still here. The artist framed her body, stretched in a pose of surrender, on the far wall. Painted red, mouth open, eyes stitched shut with silk thread. Her name was Elena. Now she is Exhibit 27. The lights above her flicker. The air hums like a breath held too long. A drop of blood falls from her ribcage, still fresh. But the mask sees more than the man. It sees hunger. It sees her, the new one, the girl who smiled at him across a desk, who didn't notice his hand brushing her sleeve for too long, who didn't flinch when he said the words, "Art lives forever." Soon, it will be time. Soon, people will whisper her name. Rachel. The mask pulses gently, like a thing alive. There were others before her. There will be others after. The canvas is never full. The gallery is never closed. And silence? Silence is just a scream, waiting to be painted.
Prologue. Lucas. A masterpiece doesn't scream. It sings. They call it madness, but they don't see what I see. Not the lines, not the texture, not the way blood dries like lacquered varnish across flesh. I've tried to explain it. Once, before I understood that no one hears the gallery the way I do. Not the shallow critics, not the wine-drunk donors, not even the artists who beg for relevance with their flailing brushstrokes. They don't know what real art is. But I do. My first piece wasn't perfect. Her skin split too easily. I was younger, clumsy with the tools, too focused on the moment, not on the silence that followed. But she taught me. I remember the sound her last breath made, a faint whistle through a slit in her throat. And I thought, this is it. This is how the canvas speaks back. I found the mask after her, or maybe it found me. I'm not sure. Forgotten in an old artist's crate at a flea market. Black porcelain, fractured silver seams, hollow eyes. I touched it and felt complete. Not whole, not healed, but aligned, as if the gallery whispered, "Now, make something beautiful." And I did. I built it, one piece at a time. In the basement beneath the noise and champagne, where the walls are soundproof, where no one ever looks past the velvet rope. There are bodies down here, some in glass, some in bone frames, some sewn into the walls themselves. They don't scream anymore. They echo. When I saw her, Rachel, I knew. She wasn't loud, not flashy, but she fit, like a missing puzzle piece in the shape of silence. The moment she smiled across my desk and offered to help plan the show, I imagined her jaw unhinged and dripping red. I wondered how her spine would arch under pressure, how long her eyes would hold on to light. I didn't feel guilty. I felt inspired. She'll be my finest masterpiece yet. The others were practicing brushstrokes on canvas. Rachel, she'll be the painting itself.
Chapter 1. Rachel. I didn't fall for him. I fell for the silence between his words. I do not know what I expected today when I walked into Lucas Hollow's studio, but I should have known it would not be a normal meeting. There's nothing normal about a man who makes death look like devotion. I was 20 minutes late. The rain was biblical. My eyeliner had surrendered halfway through the train ride. My heels clicked too loudly on the polished marble of the lobby, echoing through the emptiness like I didn't belong there. But I did. Somehow I did. I was handpicked. Lucas Hollow had requested me. No assistant, no agent. He called my office directly, his voice like velvet and knives over the phone. The moment I hung up, I Googled him. People had already whispered the information in hushed tones throughout the art world. Reclusive, genius, touched by trauma. His last public piece was 6 years ago, Mother's Mouth. A wire sculpture that made grown men cry and women faint at the unveiling. And now he wanted a full-scale gallery opening, with me at his side. I stepped into his penthouse studio and forgot how to breathe. It wasn't a studio. It was a cathedral. Black-paneled walls, soft lighting, sketches pinned like surgical diagrams, sculptures that looked like they had once been alive. And he, standing by the window in a dark button-up shirt, sleeves rolled up, like he was born inside a painting. He turned, looked at me with his green eyes, those dark red lips.
For a second, I could not hear anything but my pulse. "Miss Kramer," he said in amusement with a smirk. "You are late." I snapped back out of my trance, and a laugh escaped my lips before I answered. "Traffic, rain, Terry shoes." He just stood there, staring. Then, finally, he nodded once and motioned to a long table. "Let's begin." That first meeting was meant to be 30 minutes. It lasted 2 hours. We did not talk about logistics. We talked about atmosphere, ritual, the way blood looks under gallery lights, the sound of footsteps makes on marble when you're the only one left behind. He didn't want an event. No, he wanted a funeral for beauty. "I want the guests to leave feeling like they have lost something," he said, "and maybe that they will like it." I should have walked out, but I didn't. I was captivated by this man and his vision for his opening. Over the next 2 weeks, we met again and again. Late nights in the studio turned into quiet dinners at small bistros, tucked into alleyways no one knew about. He never touched me, never flirted. How I wished he would touch me and kiss me, but I was professional, and he was as well. This was just a job, but there was something in the way he listened to me. He was nearly finished solving me like a puzzle. One night, I started dreaming about him, how he would feel, how he would kiss me all over my body and ruin my pussy for any other person. I woke up soaked, but that wasn't the worst. I began waking up missing and needed.
Chapter 2. Lucas. She thought we were planning a gallery. I was planning her last breath. She walked into my studio exactly 23 minutes late. It was raining. I liked that. It meant she would be wet, slightly off-center, anxious and open. Her name was Rachel Kramer, broke but brilliant. Overachiever, but barely holding it together. I chose her for those contradictions, the soft places, the cracks. People like Rachel shine just before they break. When she walked in, dripping, flustered, apologizing, I saw it. The hunger showed in her eyes. Not for me, not yet, but for something more. Something outside of this small, exhausting life she will stitch together with gallery invoices, recycled wine bottles, and unpaid rent. She wanted significance. She thought I was this strange, wounded genius who needed her. How sweet. Every word I said was a scalpel. Every gesture a stitch in the net. She said yes to the project like it meant something, like I hadn't already picked her months ago. I found her by accident. 2 galleries over, she was presenting a local painter's work like it were a cathedral. I didn't even like the art, but I liked her. The way she moved through the crowd, the way she touched the corner of the frames without realizing it, the way she was smiled was like it was breaking her jaw. She reminded me of a cracked vase someone kept putting flowers in. Delicate, desperate, beautiful. The first time I followed her home, the second time I took photos, the third time I picked her lock, not to hurt her, but to learn everything about her. I sat on her couch while she was out. Her books touched me. I sat where she cried. I memorized the smell of her shampoo. I discovered her journals. She wrote in half sentences, afraid of her thoughts. She left the window open at night. She always double-checked the door, then went back and did it again. She listened to Chopin when she was sad, and old radio murders when she was drunk. She was perfect. When she entered my studio for the first time, I did not greet her. I absorbed her. Wet hair, skirt too thin for the weather, mascara was trailing, just slightly. "Miss Kramer," I said. I did not need to smile. I never smile. She laughed nervously, clutched her bag tighter, and talked about traffic. She had already walked into a stage I had been building it for months. We began planning the exhibit. She brought color palettes. I brought ashes. She offered emotions. I offered silence. She talked about vision. I talked about remains. She didn't know that every corridor she started wearing lipstick to our meetings. She started laughing more. She started asking about my work, my history, and the scars on my hands. I never gave her much, just enough to keep her guessing, enough rope to tie herself up with. The more she filled in the blanks, the more she loved the story, even though the story was a coffin. The night she brought wine was the night I knew she was mine. We sat on the floor. She leaned her head back, loose, open, trusting. "If this goes well," she said, "maybe we do a second exhibit." I just nodded. We won't. Later, when she fell asleep against the wall, I sat beside her, watched her dream. I could hear her breath hitch, could see her fingers twitch. Nightmares, or maybe even something darker, something deeper. I wanted to be in her dreams. I wanted to own them. I left her there and went to my hidden room, went to check on the mask, and ran my thumb along my machete's edge, making sure that it's sharp enough for your next hunt. "Soon," I whispered into the dark, "I will take her to the cabin." And when the time was right, I'd open the back door and say, "Run, little bunny."
Chapter 3. Rachel. It was the biggest night of my career, and the last time I ever felt safe. I dreamed of this night since I was 22 and curating makeshift shows in the back of wine bars. But nothing, not the midnight hours, not the months of stress, nosebleeds, or loneliness could have prepared me for this. The gallery was breathtaking. The walls breathed dark elegance, obsidian, bone white, with velvet smooth shadows that swallowed sound. Lit like relics, the exhibits showcased sorrow trapped in amber, glass eyes staring into the void, sculptures that whispered trauma, paintings that pulled you inward like you were drowning. I had helped Lucas Hollow build something unforgettable, and it scared the hell out of me. People buzzed like bees in a mausoleum, champagne flutes clinking against unspoken grief. I moved through the crowd like I belonged there, dressed in deep green satin that hugged me too tightly around the ribs. Lucas wasn't at my side. He never was, not in public. But I felt his eyes on me, like a second pulse behind mine, like eyes in the corner of every mirror. I caught glimpses of him by the stairwell, under the mezzanine, brushing past a couple too drunk to notice. Then he approached me. No warning, just there, beside me, like he had always been standing there. Lucas Hollow, dressed in a tailored black suit, his white shirt sleeves rolled. No warmth. His eyes found mine and didn't let go. "You look like regret," he said. It should have chilled me, but I smiled. "Thank you," I whispered. He leaned in closer and just stared at me in silence, but I heard everything he was not saying. He leaned into me, whispered in my ear, "Good job, little bunny." I felt the wetness between my legs at the nickname. The critics adored the exhibits and paintings, calling them true to life. A woman from the New York Times called it intimately annihilating. A collector murmured that he could taste the grief in the exhibit titled "The Widow's Belly." Even the hardened gallery staff looked shaken by echo room, a corridor lined with broken clocks and crushed phones, whispering distorted voicemails on loop. I helped Lucas wire those recordings myself. They were from real people. The messages remained unanswered. Grief never returned. I felt proud of the creation, one of my best yet. Hollow,
He leaned in and said, low and soft,
there is something more, something I've never shown anyone.
I turned, heart hammering. What is it? I whispered. A place, he said, upstate, a cabin. No noise, no people, just trees and stillness. I don't know, we've only just. I shyly say, Bunny. He demanded just one word, spoken like a promise and a dare. And I said yes. Later that night, alone in my apartment, I rewatched a video a friend had taken of the opening. In the background, barely noticeable, Lucas was watching me, not smiling, just staring, and for a second, I swear his eyes glowed blue in the frame. But maybe that was the light. Maybe it was nothing.
Chapter 4. Lucas. She thinks this is a date. She doesn't know it's a farewell feast. The gallery opening was perfect, not because of the crowd, not because of the praise, because of her. Rachel shimmered like something already dead, just waiting to realize it. The way she smiled was too wide, drank too much, checked for me in every mirror and flinched when she found me there. Yes, she was ready. She did not hesitate when I invited her to the cabin. First, we will have one last dinner date in the city, before we head out to the cabin. A final comfort before the cold. A final taste before I starve her off control. I took her to a place buried deep in the old quarter. Clemency, it was called. No sign on the door, just a rusted bell and a host who never blinked. They keep it quiet in there. Dim, smoked glass chandeliers, tables carved from charred timber, a menu written in fading typewriter ink. Everything in Clemency feels like a eulogy. She wore black, silk, simple, too soft for the cold. Her neck was bare. I watched her from across the table and imagined the blade, sliding into her neck and the blood running down it, so beautiful. Not yet, I needed to remind myself of it. I was eager for her to taste her, but first, the red wine. You don't talk much, she said, lips stained plum. I talk when it matters, I answer. She smiled like that answer hurt. Her fingers touched the rim of her glass. She was nervous, curious, starving. I told her about the trees upstate, the snow, the silence. I didn't have to lie. I didn't need to. The truth is more terrifying when you don't dress it up. She asked about the cabin, and I described it in soft detail, the creaking wood, the smoke curling up from the stone fireplace, the way no cell towers touched the hills for miles. You'll sleep better out there, I said. She laughed, brushing her hair back. You think I need to sleep better? I think you're tired of being seen by people who don't look, I answered. She didn't reply to that. She just stared at me. Our meals came, and I watched her eat. She didn't know how sensual hunger could look. She cut each bite of her steak too delicately, like she was performing. The irony made me ache. She was offering herself without realizing it, like a prey nestling against a predator for warmth. When we left, I helped her into her coat, my hands at her shoulders, slow, cold. She turned her face toward mine, closer than she should have. Do you always pick women like this? She asked softly. Like what? I asked in confusion. Fragile, she shyly answers. I just smiled. You're not fragile. You just haven't broken yet. Blue lenses for eyes. The mask had a faint smile carved into its mouth. I set the machete beside it, sharpened, quiet, hungering. She thinks this is a weekend in the woods. She does not know it is the last hunt for her.
Chapter 5. Rachel. He brought me to the woods to be still, but I never stopped shaking. The drive felt endless. Forests swallowed the road like a secret. Pines nodded above us, heavy with snow and silence. I tried to make conversation. Silence met my attempts at conversation. His presence filled the space like static before a storm. And when we finally pulled up to the cabin, I forgot how to breathe. It was both beautiful and isolated. Old stone steps, wood blackened from years of weather, a crooked chimney puffing lazy smoke into the sky. It looked like it had grown out of the earth itself. "This place is incredible," I whispered. He didn't answer. He just watched me as I stepped out, suitcase forgotten in my hand, breath rising in little clouds. Inside, the heat wrapped around me like a second skin. The fire was already lit deep and slow burning, casting gold and bloodied shadows across the wide wooden floor. The walls held books. The windows were high and narrow, but it was the bedroom that made me freeze. Huge, old beams above us. A bed carved from dark oak, draped in heavy blankets and blood-wine sheets. Candles flickered across the dresser. There were no mirrors. I felt exposed, but safe. Or maybe I mistook danger for desire again. He came up behind me, took my coat slowly, his fingers grazing my neck. I heard his breath before I felt his lips. "Are you cold?" he asked, voice rough like gravel under velvet. I turned, shook my head. Then I kissed him. I pulled him closer to deepen the kiss. I needed his touch, heat rising in my core. His mouth was colder than I expected. His hands were firm, controlled. He tasted like wine and wood smoke, and something I couldn't place. He didn't rush. He studied me as he undressed me, like unveiling a painting, tracing his fingers all over my body, creeping down to my pussy where I need him the most. He rubbed my clit, and I let out a moan. I need more of him. I need to feel him inside me. The fire cracked louder as he lay me down on the bed, body pressing against mine, mouth at my throat, fingers at my ribs. The shadows moved around us like they were alive. "Fuck me," I whispered into his mouth. He took his time, placing kisses all over my body. He sucked one nipple into his mouth and bit it, and did the same with the other. And when he entered me, it didn't feel like love.
Chapter 6. Lucas. The fire was still burning, but the warmth was almost over. She looked like a painting while sleeping, her skin glowing orange in the firelight, one arm above her head, tangled in a crimson sheet, lips parted, neck exposed. The same way I saw her that first time, through the crowd. Fragile, unknowing, mine. I leaned down and kissed her shoulder, slow, soft. My lips were dragging up the column of her throat to the edge of her jaw. She stirred under me, warm despite that, half in a dream. "Lucas," she murmured, voice raw and velvet. My hand traced her hip, The shape of her waist, the lines I had memorized. Every part of her, but not just from touch, but from planning. Her eyes fluttered open, lust in her gaze. I kissed her mouth before she could speak again, firmer, deeper, one last time. I took her slowly, deliberately. Every breath, every sound she made, I savored. I wanted to remember how she tasted when she was still alive with hope, still warm, still unaware. She pulled me closer. She always did. And I let her believe this was for her. But it was always for me. I lowered my head, placing kisses all over her body, licking, biting down to her pussy, wary eating her like a starving man. I am sucking on her clit, finding the nub. I slip one finger into her pussy, whisper against her pussy, "So wet for me, little bunny." She is trembling under my touch. She moans for more. "Please, Lucas." I place a second finger into her, find her G-spot and making her cry out in pleasure. She comes down from her orgasm as I slide my thick cock into her, and finding a steady rhythm, she hooks her legs behind me. She whispers, "Let me ride you." In one swift motion, I flip her around. She is cradling me with her legs over my waist, fucking me just the way she wants. I let her have this control only now. She shudders under her orgasm, and my release is shortly after. Soon, she fell asleep again, soft and trusting. Rachel looked beautiful in death, like a porcelain doll left too close to the fire, still and glowing, with cracks beneath the surface no one else could see. Not literal death, yet. But in the stillness after the climax, the silence after her trust had been fully surrendered, that breathless, naked moment when the body opens completely and the soul steps out for air. She didn't know it, but this was the moment I loved most. She was mine now, her blood, her story, her final pose. I stood up naked in the cold cabin light. The fire was crackling. My breath was slightly foggy as I cold enough to bite the air. Perfect. The trail I'd carved behind the cabin led into the dark like a vein, pulsing with damp earth and the metallic tang of decay. The air clung heavy, wet with moss, sharp with cedar, and something older, like breath caught in soil. Markers hung from trees, barely visible, ribbons, bones, trinkets from past pieces. I placed a ribbon at the first fork, then another. Then I walked back inside. She was still asleep. I leaned down, kissed her shoulder. She stirred, her body shifting just slightly beneath the blanket. Warm, trusting, unaware that this would be the last time she woke without fear. My pulse didn't race, it slowed, steady, measured, like a conductor raising the baton before a final symphony. The mask was waiting for me. Beside it, the machete, polished, patient. I ran my hand down the blade, felt the chill. Soon, I murmured to myself. I stepped back into the room. She was still sleeping, curled into herself. I dressed in silence, all black. The mask is under my arm. My coat concealed the weapon. Tonight, I would give her a choice to run, and then I'd hunt her.
Chapter 7. Rachel. I went looking for him, and the woods sent something else instead. I turned around in the bed. It was empty, cold, and when I woke up, The fire had died down to embers, casting long-fingered shadows across the wood floor. I sat up slowly, stretching, the soreness between my legs reminding me of the night before. The way he kissed me awake. He treated me as if I were something sacred. I got up, looking around, and saw that his jacket was gone. Someone cracked open the bedroom door. My clothes were folded neatly on the chair, and on the dresser, a note, handwritten in perfect black ink. Meet me outside, come alone. No smiley face, no heart, just those words. Simple, cold, just like Lucas. I dressed quickly. The floorboards creaked in a way they hadn't the night before, deeper, older. And when I stepped outside, the world had changed. The sky was the color of ash. Thick mist hung between the trees like breath that couldn't die. No birds, no wind, no sound but the faint rustle of snow against branches. I turned, expecting to see footprints leading away from the door. There were none. The snow was untouched. "Lucas?" I called, stepping forward. The door creaked shut behind me. I spun around. The cabin stood still, dark windows, the chimney dead. It looked abandoned, as if no one had lived there in years. But that couldn't be right. I'd been in that bed. I had kissed him this morning. "Lucas," I said again, louder now. No answer. I followed the path leading toward the tree line. It felt wrong. The trees didn't look the same as yesterday. They were closer together, their bark cracked like burnt skin. The branches above didn't sway. They twitched, just slightly, just enough to see. As I walked, I noticed things that shouldn't be there. A length of red ribbon tied to a tree, the same shade as the gallery opening invitations. A broken cell phone nailed to the bark, the screen still cracked open on a text. "Where are you?" A child's doll, head twisted backwards. No eyes. A bone. I told myself it was a deer bone. I told myself a lot of things. The deeper I walked, the more I felt it. The watching. Like the trees were leaning in, listening. Like something was pacing beside me in the dark that I couldn't see, but could feel. And then I heard it. Footsteps, soft light, behind me. I stopped. It stopped. I turned around slowly, keeping my breath in, but nothing. Just trees, mist, and silence. I started walking again, faster and faster. "Lucas, this isn't funny," I shouted, in panic. Silence fell again, but then, a laughter so dark, low, slow evil, somewhere behind me, like it had learned to mimic a man, but a thing in a cracked black face. Silver veins across the cheeks, and glowing blue eyes that burned through the mist. Watching me look deep into my soul. It raised his hand. Something shimmered in it. Long, serrated, dripping cold. A knife of sorts. I turned and started running harder. No more breath left to scream, just air in and out, and the sound of boots getting closer. I tripped over a bone sticking out in the snow, and I fell hard. Mud soaked my sleeves, and snow in my lungs. Burning as I breathed, I turned and looked up, but he was gone. But I knew better. He was somewhere behind me. In the trees, smirking in my pain and waiting for me.
Chapter 8. Lucas. She's in the forest now, exactly where I wanted her. I waited in the clearing, patiently waiting in the trees, breathing slowly, listening to the soft thump of her footsteps far behind the line of pines. She had not screamed yet, not out loud, but I could hear the panic in her heartbeat, the wet slap of her boots against the frozen ground, the way her breath caught every time she thought she saw me. She did see me many times, but she only saw the mask, Not me. I love the confusion on her face. Long before she departed the cabin, I was watching her. I'd stood at the tree line, mask on, machete gripped tight in my gloved hand. The cracked silver veins along the porcelain caught the last bit of light, glowing faintly like veins of moonlight in bone. She opened the door, stepped out in her coat wrapped tight around her. She called my name. I smiled under the mask, so sweet, so blind. She followed the trail I laid for her, every detail crafted. The red ribbon, the red-haired, blue-eyed doll, the deer bone sticking out. She passed them all, each one pressing deeper into her head like nails. I could see the doubt blooming behind her eyes, even from a distance, the way she glanced over her shoulder, the way she knew something was coming but couldn't name it. She stopped once, stared right into the mask's blue eyes toward me. I didn't move. The blue lenses in the mask blurred her face to a watercolor of fear and disbelief, but I could see her breath tremble, could feel her mind breaking. Delicious little bunny. And then I made the sound, just one step behind her. She started running, just like a little prey should. I didn't chase immediately. Oh no, that would be too easy, too clumsy. I let her get just far enough to feel hope again. That flicker that maybe she was alone. It was all in her head. That hope on her face, I love it. It makes the fear more intense when the prey is shattered. She tripped. I heard it, body slamming into the mud, leaves breaking, a sharp intake of pain. I slowly and deliberately moved towards her. She looked up, eyes wide, wild, wet. I melted back into the trees before she could scream. She still needs to run a bit more. This hunt is much more interesting than my others, so I don't catch her, not yet. I want to watch her a little longer. I want to stretch the scream out of her soul, one breath at a time.
Chapter 9. Rachel. I didn't know where I was, but I knew I wasn't getting out. Somewhere between falling and crawling back to my feet, the forest had become something else. It was denser now. The pines leaned in like they were listening to me think. The branches above blotted out the sky. I looked up. No light. Endless blackness for miles. Even the snow felt different here. Thicker. Sticky like ash. I ripped my coat down one side. My knee throbbed. Warm blood seeping into my sock. Grabbing at bark, thorns, and nothing. I scratched my hands raw. I tried to retrace my steps. Back to the path. Back to the cabin. Back to Lucas. But there was no trail. No footprints. No cabin in sight. It all disappeared, like it never existed. Or did I imagine it all? No, I did not. I was being hunted, and I was met with silence. Until the laughter came again. Not too loud, not too wild. I spun around, searching. But nothing. I felt it, eyes everywhere. The icy breath of something not quite human brushed my ear. I started walking again. Faster. Tripping, limping and dragging myself forward without direction. The branches above began to creak, just slightly, but they were not swaying. They were shifting with every move I made, following me. "Lucas!" I shouted, my voice hoarse, tears cracking in my throat. "Lucas, please. This isn't funny." A whisper came from the trees right behind me. "It's not supposed to be." I screamed, broken, tearing my throat raw. The woods swallowed it whole. They had been waiting for my cries. I felt my legs go numb in the cold snow. Branches clawed at me. Roots tangled like fingers. I could not tell if it was the trees or something else now. Despite that, I heard him, the masked man. His footsteps, matching mine, just far enough behind to be invisible, just close enough to make me feel like prey. My lungs burned. My knee nearly buckled, and then I saw it, a small flicker of light. I saw hope in that light, and I stumbled toward it, heart cracking in my chest. But when I reached the small clearing, I froze. It was not the cabin. It was something else. Someone had nailed a massive canvas between two trees. Blood-red strokes smeared across the cloth in a shape that looked almost like a face. Below it, a row of black candles melting into teeth, and behind it, a shadow, a silhouette. Lucas. Then the realization hit me square in the chest. It burned to know the truth. This was never about the art. I am his newest masterpiece. And I am the last stroke.
Chapter 10, Lucas. The scream was pure now, no hope left in it. She ran like a fire consuming a forest, wild and breaking apart. The snow lit up around her with every flicker of movement, every ragged scream she tore from her throat. But it didn't matter. The forest belonged to me. I moved through it like the wind in silence, certain, the machete hanging low by my side, teeth of light sliding across the edge. Her scent was thick now. She smelled of sweat, blood, and fear, a kind of perfume you only get once. My final canvas, the painting made of arterial strokes and agony. Every woman I chose left behind something, an echo, a scream that became part of my gallery. But Rachel, oh, she was something special, much bigger than the other ones. She was going to be the centerpiece of the gallery. I stepped into her tracks, ice and blood mixing like paint. I could still hear her crashing, whimpering, and choking out my name like it might still save her. It would not. Nothing can save her, not even me. The mask wants the hunt and his prey. The trees tightened, they always did towards the end, like they knew the hunt was ending, and they welcomed the kill with open arms. How we loved the finale, the chaos, the way the prey danced when it realized there was no stage door, only curtains, and me behind them. I moved faster now, being controlled by the mask. He is ready for his prey to be killed. 1 deep breath, 2, 3, and there, she had fallen again, poor girl. One leg bent wrong beneath her. Her palms scraped against the meat. She looked back, her eyes locked with the blue glow of the mask. And then something happened I didn't expect. She started to crawl. She did not scream, nor did she beg for her life. She just kept crawling, like that was going to save her from me or the mask. She was determined, pitiful, glorious. I stepped into her full view. She turned, looking at me, staring into the glowing eyes of the mask. She started crawling to the base of a tree, like she could vanish into the bark. Her lips trembled, tears running down her red-stained cheeks with fear at the knowledge of what was going to happen next. She was trying to mouth something. "Please," she finally whispers, looking up at me with her bunny eyes full of tears, begging me in silence. I slowly raise the machete against her.
Chapter 11. Rachel. I wasn't dead, but someone had already partially framed me. I opened my eyes to silence, not the peaceful kind, not the silence of sleep or solitude. This was the kind of silence that feels too large, like something was holding its breath beneath you. I wasn't in the woods anymore. I wasn't anywhere I recognized. I stood barefoot on cold stone. My arms hung heavy at my sides, wrists sore. The smell of wax, rot, and metal clung to the air. I looked around. A long hallway stretched in both directions, dimly lit by oil lamps, but no flame flickered, just a strange blue glow, like the eyes behind his mask. Frames covered the walls. Hundreds, maybe thousands. But they weren't paintings. They were faces. Not painted, preserved. They stitched some into the canvas, some smeared into abstract spirals of blood and sinew. Eyes stared out of broken glass. Mouths were open in mid-scream, caught forever behind cracked resin. The way, anyway, any piece of silence, at the far end of the hall. In shock, I stumbled backward. My face, pale and waxy, lips slightly parted, eyes open and dead. But I was still alive. I touched my wet cheeks. Real. My breath fogged in front of me. Footsteps echoed behind me, slow, measured, loving. I turned to face him, my tormentor. Lucas stood just beyond the last lamp, mask off now. His face was quiet, gentle, like a painter admiring his final brushstroke. "You woke up," he whispered. "Good. That means I did it right." I backed up, but there was nowhere to run. Only frames, and I, slowly becoming part of them. "What is this?" I whispered. My throat felt raw. "This is the gallery the world never gets to see," he said. "The one that matters." He walked toward me, barefoot too, steps silent as the dead. I don't just kill Rachel, I preserve. Before, the moments before silence, I seize them, and their song lives on forever. "Do you hear them?" he whispers. I did not answer him. I didn't want to. Behind the silence, beneath the cold stone, I heard weeping, whispers, a slow moan that never stopped. "You shouldn't be alive," he said. "I didn't kill you, not completely." He smiled. "Because you're my favorite. You're the one I've waited for." He stepped closer. "I want you to see it, the whole thing, what you inspired, what you became." He raised something from his coat. A frame is empty, waiting. He pressed it against the wall beside my face. "When you're ready," he whispered. And then he turned and walked away, leaving me alone. I fell to the ground, not screaming anymore, just breathing. The walls stared back, and I felt them pulling at me, like I was already part of them, like I always had been.
Chapter 12. Lucas. To make something eternal, you have to let it die slowly. She has been awake for 2 days, or maybe 3. Time does not flow in the gallery like it does outside. Down here between the stone and the frames, minutes bleed into hours, screams stretch into brush strokes, pain dries into beauty. Rachel's eyes have stopped darting around. She still breathes, but shallower now. She is ready now. I step into the chamber. The door creaks, not from rust, but from ritual. Everything must feel final. She is chained now, bare feet curled against the cold slab beneath her. Her hair is tangled with dried sweat, her lips cracked from silence and tears. She watches me, not with hatred anymore, but with understanding. I kneel in front of her. I touch her face softly. "You see it now, don't you?" I whisper, "what all the others missed." She does not respond. Her eyes twitch slightly, a tiny glimmer still alive. I unwrap the cloth bundle I brought with me, the brushes, the blade, the vials, and most important of all, the mask, all clean, all prepared, just waiting. I set them out beside her like instruments in an opera pit. Each one sings in its way. "You're not dying, Rachel. Not really," I murmur as I pull the scalpel from its case. "You're becoming." The first cut is gentle, just below her collarbone, a diagonal stroke across the skin. Blood wells up, slow and syrupy. I catch it with the vial, just a few drops. It is the perfect color. This is what I needed. All along, I murmur to the mask, show it the vial. I dip the brush and stroke it against the stretched canvas behind her. The red glides like silk. She gasps softly, her eyes flutter. She's slipping, but I pull her back. I kiss her deeply. She pulls away from me in anger, so I kiss again, this time not on the lips, but on the scar I just made. "Stay with me," I whisper. "Don't go yet." She moans, part pain, part soul. I move to the next cut, her inner arm, right beneath the skin where the blood runs the hottest. I draw spirals with the blade, not deep, not yet. Each drop is caught, painted. Each twitch of her fingers adds rhythm to the ritual. Her mouth goes slack, her pulse quiets. The body is empty now, but the art is just beginning. I begin the final assembly, blood for a color, hair woven into canvas, bones carved into sacred angles, lips stitched together into the base of the frame. Her eyes, still open, are preserved in resin, so they can always watch, so she never misses a single scream from the next one. I hang the finished piece in the central chamber, spotlight above it, thick red curtain behind it. The surrounding silence deepens, almost reverent. She is perfect, my last echo. Welcome home, Rachel. Epilogue, Lucas. The cycle doesn't stop, it only changes frames. It's been 3 weeks since I finished her, my little bunny Rachel. The gallery still smells of her, rich iron and perfume, sorrow and legacy. The light catches on the resin in her eyes just right at dusk. Sometimes it looks like she's blinking, but she is not. She is quiet now, beautiful, immortal, exactly as she should be. I sip my espresso from the upper loft of the gallery. Below me, The installation team is resetting the public rooms for the fall showcase, the one everyone gets to see. Not the genuine work, of course, just the lie. Prints, abstracts, cold sculptures, noise, and among the noise she walks. Her name is Eden, 22, fresh out of art school. Dreamer eyes, coffee-stained fingers, a nervous laugh that always ends with a throat clear, like she is afraid to be too loud. She started 2 weeks ago as my assistant, but I noticed her the first time she stepped foot in the building. She walks through the exhibit floor with a clipboard tucked to her chest, biting her lower lip as she scribbles notes. The curve of her neck when she stretches to hang a placard, the way her eyes narrow with focus when the lighting isn't quite right, the softness behind the tension in her smile, all of it. It's like seeing brush strokes appear before the canvas even realizes it's being touched. Lucas, she calls up suddenly, unsure where I am. I don't answer. I enjoy the sound of my name on her lips. Eden. Even her name sounds like something worth destroying. There is still work to do, still layers to peel back, but I can already see the shape of her fear, her struggle.
But not the gallery! The doors are still open. And Lucas Hollow, he is always looking for his next exhibit. To be continued.
The gallery never closes. Thank you for surviving this tale from the shadows. If you enjoyed the darkness, like, subscribe, join the channel, and don't forget to hit the bell. That's how you feed the stories. That's how we keep the horror alive. One subscribe is one more echo in the gallery. From all of us behind the veil, thank you for watching. Until next time, sleep tight and listen closely. The Whisper.